Hi, in this video, I would like to step through a sample application for chapter 3. This application is called as the room charge calculator application. I just call it room charger application. In your book, page 201 is this tutorial 310. It actually walks us through the application, but I want to make a video of it. So it'll be much easier for you to understand some of the concepts that are discussed in this chapter. We will be looking at how to declare a variable, different types of variables, when do we do conversion from one variable type to another. We'll talk about form load, and we'll also talk about exceptions. So the very first step that I want to talk through is the controls that we have in this application. You can look into details into the book for details on what kind of controls we have. But at the high level, we have labels here. These are group boxes from your toolbox. And then we have texts and labels and text boxes. And again, labels and labels. And we have 3 buttons here. And the neat trick for you to show a label with no text in it is to change the auto size property to false. If you see on the right side, I am trying to find the property here. This auto size is set to false, otherwise the label will look really tiny without any text in it. So I set that, and that's why you're able to see that label even though there is no text in it. So once you create all these controls, it'll be much easier to step through and follow the code. So that is what I would suggest that you do first before you follow through the tutorial. Naming conventions are really important, because if you just have label 1, label 2, label 3, and so on, it is very hard to track what label is where, and where are we assigning values. So you might want to have names that are really meaningful. I call this one as text nights, and this is text nightly charges. You get the idea. We have 3 buttons here. One is to actually calculate the rates here. This one is to clear all the value, and this is to close the form. Let's look at what is a form load event and how we are going to use it. If you double click, you can see this is a function that gets loaded as soon as you start the application. At the start of the application, we want to add code that we want to be called just once when the form is loaded. That way we have some efficiency. Like if I want to populate these two with today's date and time, I don't want to do it every time I click on calculate. I just want it to be there from the beginning of loading the form, and I want it to happen only once. So how I'm going to do that is I come in here, I just say label date dot text. I'm going to use the function now. Cool thing about this function is I can say how I want the text to be. If I just want the date, I put that. If I want the time, I just say label time. There's no semicolon in VB. So this sets the date, this sets the time. Let's check this out. When the form loads, I should be able to see that the date and time are set already before any other processing happens. So the next set of calculation is I want to know the number of nights, capture number of nights, nightly rate, multiply that and populate it here in the room charges. And this should all happen when I click on the calculate button. So I'm going to declare some variables here. Variables are temporary storage, like buckets. So let's declare some variables. The convention to name variable is to use the data type. So I want some decimals to capture. Other data types that we have are integers, byte, float, short, long, string. These are different types of variables that we can have. Most commonly used is integer for number. We use string a lot. And any type of like currency and money transactions, we use decimal, unless you have an application that does like some kind of mathematical conversion. Usually the most common data type is integer and string. And you can find more information in this chapter under variables. So we have declared two variables. Let me just talk about scope here. These variables got created inside this button calculate click function, and they will die. They will not exist when this particular subprocedure is complete. This function, when this function is out of memory, these variables will be out of memory. Instead of this, if I like create a variable here, this variable will live much longer, because as long as this class form exists, this variable will exist. When we close the application, this variable will die. And this variable will be accessible inside this class, including all the functions. We are not going to use this variable, but it is just to give you an idea of the scope of a variable. Let's capture the text box, text. Because this is going to be a string and we are trying to put it in a decimal, that is not an acceptable conversion. So this is where we have to explicitly convert one data type to another. And here we are going to use the function called cdec, convert to decimal. So that converts this text to decimal. So we captured the two data. I'm going to hold another variable. This is going to capture the total charge, which would be charges times and I'm going to populate that into text. Text room charges. So now I calculated the value and populated that here. So I'll say 2 nights, 200 each. Click on calculate. Populates 400 here. So if I had 200.34, I say calculate. That's how that works. So that is the very first step in our application.